Thank you for joining us for this episode of Inside Town Hall. I'm your host, Madeline Shields. This month we have a very hot topic that is affecting Sioux Falls and the surrounding area, and that is everything housing. Joining me this month is City Councilor Alex Jensen, and his guest is Logan Penfield, Government Affairs Director for the Realtor Association of the Sioux Empire. That's a lot. Did I say it right?
You got it.
Okay, very good, very good. Let's talk about housing, and it's been a huge topic. Somebody sells their house and it seems to be gone before they can even get it on the market. So let's talk about housing.
That's right. Sioux Falls is a really popular place right now, and we can see that through our economic development opportunities that are coming. We have Amazon with 1,000 jobs, and we have CJ Foods with 600 jobs coming. We have the Holstone factory that's also coming. So there is a lot of economic development opportunities that are coming to Sioux Falls, Southeast South Dakota. So we need to look at our housing to be able to bring these people here and give them a place to lay their head on. So last spring, early spring, Logan Penfield started over at the Realtor Association, and he came in and he said, hey, I need to meet with people that can get things done. So he called about, I think, everyone in the city, and that's a testament to his charismatic personality and his ability to get things done. What Logan then did is set up a roundtable with Christine Erickson, Councilor Christine Erickson, myself, Jeff Eckhoff was there with the city administration, and many, many more people, builders, realtors, people that have been around a long time, know how to get things done. So Logan set that up. We had a great first conversation, and there have been many conversations that have happened before this. Then secondarily to that, we had 2 public meetings where people could come and meet with Christine, Kurt, a lot of the city council, the city administration was there through Jeff and others on his staff. And what I'll tell you is we have kind of come together and said, hey, let's focus these efforts. And that's what we've started to do. And we'll talk about that a little later in the program. But what Logan wants to talk about is kind of where we're at today, where we're going, how he sees the market in Sioux Falls, and how we're going to move forward. So thanks for being on the show with us, Logan, and we'll let you take it from here.
Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for having me. As for the housing market in Sioux Falls, it's still very much a seller's market. It has been for well over a year now, at least since I've been at the Realtors Association. Just in the month of August alone, now there's always a bit of a data lag, so I don't have September's for you, but for the month of August 2021, median sales in the area were up over 17.5%, and we actually set records in the city of Sioux Falls and in the Sioux Falls region for both median sales price and average sales price. Median sales price in Sioux Falls is sitting at about $280,000 right now, where average sales price is well over $315,000. You still have an inventory lag as well. Compared to the year over year, we're over 11% less houses that have been on the market in 2021 compared to 2020, and 2020 was down from 2019. So it just shows how tight that market is getting. And it's not just the housing market. According to the South Dakota Multifamily Association, in July they did a study, and it showed about a 3% vacancy rate for all rental properties in Sioux Falls. So with the combination of increasing housing prices, lower availability for those houses that are being sold, and a tightening rental market, we're going to start running into limits on economic growth. And so it's something that's going to affect, our industry and every industry across the city. Sioux Falls, and it has an unemployment rate of 2.3%, which the national full employment is generally put around 4.5%. So we're half of that. So we're well into one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. We have one of the highest workforce participation rates in the country at about 68% compared to 62% nationally. So we're running up to maxing out our local labor force, and we still have, I think there's over 10,000 jobs posted in the Sioux Falls area right now. So looking at housing, whether, that's your industry like it is for me and in the association I work with, or if you're just looking in the economic development sphere, that's a huge challenge that we need to overcome, and it really has been refreshing to start this job and to work with leaders that immediately recognize that, like Alex and some of their folks coming up here later on the panel, to address this, and I feel like there's solid momentum moving forward, and in some of the efforts the City Council and the Mayor's office took with the most recent budget, and we're really excited about that in the future. And I guess Alex can tell you a little more about that than I can.
Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely critical for Sioux Falls to continue to get housing units, whether that looks, like Logan said, as houses, and they may look a little different than the old school way of looking at houses, and it may be apartments. You'll find out that this year is going to set a record for apartments, I guarantee it. We have apartments going in the northwest, southeast, southwest, and the northeast, and we're going to need them all here over the next 3 years as they're coming online, because like Logan said, we need to fill these jobs that are coming to Sioux Falls, and that's how we're going to do it, through our builders, through our workforce, through incentivizing Southeast Technical to put more people out, the Build Dakota scholarship that's out there. There are a lot of things that are already set up. Now we just need to kind of double down on them and get more workforce places to live.
Sure. Can we catch up? I mean, by the time we need all of these employees, will there be enough apartment complexes built for them to rent?
You're never going to just solve affordable housing or workforce housing. It's going to be an ongoing thing that you have to commit to in long-term vision. Right, the 2026 housing plan is a 5-year vision for that. I saw the mayor had put something out today where we set a record for building permits, for the value of building permits. That was this morning that came out, and as part of that, you're looking at single-family houses, condos, townhomes, rental spaces. That's a huge element to it, and I think 2020 was significantly higher than 2019. So the scaling up is happening. It's just that Sioux Falls is growing at a pretty rapid clip. I think that it's 4,100 people a year from 2010 to 2020. That's a lot of catching up to do, and it's also something to plan for going forward. I think the city put out something like they're going to need 7,000 new housing units by 2025 in order just to meet the demand that's expected. So the scaling up of the new properties, the new units has happened, but it's going to have to continue to meet those challenges, at least based on current projections.
How do we continue to recruit people to come if we right this minute we don't have those homes? Is it and you say it's a seller's market. How can they afford to buy them if they're coming here for a new job?
I won't speak for Logan, and he can answer this question too, but from my perspective, and we've talked about this often, is that we have people that wake up every day in Brandon and move and come into Sioux Falls and work. We have people that come in from Humboldt, Hartford. We have people that come in from Harrisburg, T. We have people that come in from a long ways out. And that will continue to be the solution that I strive for and the city of Sioux Falls strives for, is this is a Southeast, South Dakota problem. Because I'll tell you what, Amazon and CJ Foods, that's closer to Crooks than it is to my house in Sioux Falls proper. And we're going to need to rely on our partners like Crooks, like Hartford, like all of that northwest Sioux Falls area. We're going to rely on those people to help solve our great economic development opportunities that exist in Sioux Falls because of the infrastructure and the mission that we've had here.
Even if people are living in Colton or Lyons or Crooks or Del Rapids, is that still impacting Sioux Falls positively?
I think it's impacting Sioux Falls in a great way. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. And what are your realtors saying? Are they exhausted trying to find people houses, or what's the climate like?
I would say it's certainly stressful. You're trying to put families in homes, which is one of the most significant things that you're going to purchase in your entire life. The largest purchase you'll ever likely make is your home, and it's not just a place to live. It's also an economic investment for that family, and so it is stressful, in this tight a market. But also, on the flip side, for everybody that's buying a house, somebody is selling their investment that they've put 10, 15, 20 or more years into. So, there's two sides to that.
Okay, well, that's our time for this segment, and we will be back in just a moment. We're going to talk about workforce housing needs and the study that was done, as well as hear from the Director of Planning and Development Services. So thank you for joining us, Logan.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rath here with Falls Community Health, here to talk about depression. 1 in 5 adults will experience depression in their lifetime, and 1 in 10 adolescents. Those are our 12 to 17-year-olds. Depression looks like lack of interest, change in sleep, energy, appetite, concentration, or feelings of hopelessness. This is a very treatable condition. The first step is recognition. If you or anyone around you is experiencing these symptoms, please encourage them to reach out to a primary care physician or a counselor.
Well, welcome back to Inside Town Hall, where we are talking about affordable and accessible housing for all of the workforce development that we have coming down the pipeline. And joining me is City Councilor Alex Jensen, and he has 2 new guests for this segment, and it's Senator Jack Kolbeck from District 13. Thanks for being here. And we have Jeff Eckhoff, who is the Director of Planning and Development for the City of Sioux Falls. Thank you, Jeff, for being here.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, now we're talking about state and city and Southeast South Dakota collaboration. How does this all work together?
Yeah, so once we started talking, and this has been a long talk for a long time, but once we started talking with Councilor Erickson and Logan, as the last segment kind of talked about, then we started to talk with Senator Kolbeck, and Senator Kolbeck is actually on the summer study for housing, which is really important because the state of South Dakota has a windfall from A, staying open, and B, the federal funds that have came into the state, as well as our sales tax receipts. So this is a big opportunity, and it's a one-time opportunity where we can really set ourselves apart. So we started talking with Jack and talking with his committee, and we really understand that this needs to be a Southeast South Dakota, and whatever region you're in, Northeast South Dakota, Western South Dakota type of program. And if we do it successfully and we work together, and Director Eckhoff is all about that. So once we put all of this together, Senator Kolbeck wants to talk about what they have come to the governor to budget for, and then secondarily, Director Eckhoff wants to talk about his vision and the team's vision that we've created. There are specific measurable goals that we will tackle in the city of Sioux Falls, and it will be helped by the state of South Dakota. So this is a team game, and that's what we're about here. So Senator Kolbeck was also my soccer coach as a young boy. So he taught me what teamwork was during that time. So Senator Kolbeck, what do you have for us, sir?
Well, that's a hard comeback to go. Thank you very much for making that comment. Yeah, it's going to be teamwork because the workforce committee that I'm on is a very diverse group of people, and they come from all different aspects of businesses and farming, et cetera, in the state of South Dakota, and they come from all over the state. Because workforce housing is not just an eastern South Dakota problem; it's a problem statewide. And so when we talk about the statewide problems that we have with workforce housing, that'll probably fall more on my shoulders. And then Jeff here has done a great job of putting some things together for the eastern South Dakota. And Alex, I appreciate what you do, and Jeff, you as well. And thanks for being part of the Bishop Dudley House too. That was kind of a nice conversation we had this morning. But anyway, some of the strategies that we started to discuss with was what really are the issues for workforce housing amongst the contractors, amongst the cities, amongst the counties, and amongst the state and within the state. And the biggest issue that came forth was infrastructure. Infrastructure is huge when it comes to developing areas within the city or the county, and Jeff is well aware of that. You got roads and you got all that to put in the ground before you can even start putting a building up, and of course the cost of land. Land has become a big issue as far as buying property. Contractors buying land and then not being able to develop it for 4 or 5 years, before they get the lots sold and to get the houses put up. And as we heard earlier, the cost, the mean of a house is what, $280,000. So with all the new jobs coming in, of people, can they afford a $280,000 house? So those are some of the things that we looked at there. We also talked about the TIF program, changing that. Which is the tax increment financing program that Jeff and his group of people, or the city and the counties can get, and that basically delays the taxes on a piece of property. We're working on trying to get that to a 0% for workforce housing only. If we can get that tax increment down to a 0%, that would help these developers being able to put up housing and pass that savings on to people. So for the workforce housing. Sales and excise tax rebates, everybody knows in the state that contractors have to pay an excise tax. If we can get that excise tax reduced or delayed or eliminated for workforce housing, again, let's talk workforce housing, that should lower the cost of that house and bring that right back to the consumer that's buying that property. The discretionary formula, which is a formula that the counties and the cities, well, basically the counties can use. We're trying to get the cities can use a discretionary formula too, to delay the taxes on a house from 5 to 10 years. And again, for workforce housing, I hate to keep bringing that up, but that's what all these things are for. A couple things that were brought up at meetings were government houses. They build government houses down in Springfield, the prison system. They build these government houses with the help of private contractors as well. And one of the things that was brought up in our committee was, why don't we expand that program to Sioux Falls or Pierre? Because we've got prisons in both those municipalities, and they've also got land that's available right next to the prison systems. And probably some of the inmates that are in there are probably at one time could have been a contractor, a plumber, an electrician, and maybe we can do that and get more houses. We just can't build enough of the houses for them. And if we can get that done and get these houses put on foundations within the city, for that $180,000 range, we would like to be able to do that. Cost of materials have gone up. We're looking at that as well. One thing we asked all the municipalities and the cities is, what land do you have available within your boundaries that could be used for workforce housing? There's property that is available, and they know what property that is, and if we can get that property to use that for workforce housing, we're looking at that as well. So another thing that we talked a lot about was, and it's probably a new thing for a lot of people, even the ones listening, is tiny homes. There's a program out there that we're working on too as well. Is a tiny home is somewhere between 400 and 800 square foot, and people can actually buy these homes, and they would sell for anywhere from $70,000 to $90,000. And these tiny homes, you would put numerous little tiny homes, and people would own them and they could live in them, and they would be 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom little we call tiny homes, starter homes if you wanted to call them that. And again, we asked for the cities and municipals to look for property that could work. I'm not saying it will, but it's something to look at. Another thing we discussed was trailer homes, because that is a economical and a quick way to get affordable housing for the workforce, and we discussed that part of it as well. Building codes have always been an issue. And we're looking at maybe going to an international code, which would simplify some of the codes for developers. And one of the reasons for doing we don't want to hurt safety within the homes. So we don't want to, make them a fire hazard or anything like that. But what we looked at was a lot of homes that we can move. For example, if the Sioux Falls School District bought out 25 homes in an area and was going to put an addition onto the school system. These homes could be moved and made into an affordable house. But sometimes the codes, because those houses were built back in the 40s or the 30s, and so when they move them, they pretty much got to strip them out and change everything in them. So it becomes almost unaffordable to do that. And so we're looking at that part of it as well. And I think a lot of people really just want to know what's the dollar amount behind it. We're going to ask the governor for $100 million, is what our workforce group is decided upon. Whether or not we get that or we get more, it just depends on what develops with the final number that we have is for spending. And also we're looking at what we can do with the ARPA money that we've got, $987 million right now on ARPA money that the federal government has laid some guidelines down for, but really not enough for us to really start putting it out. The ARPA money is basically for water, wastewater, and broadband. And there's a number of municipalities right now that could use probably some of that ARPA money for those particular things. Broadband, we've already funded broadband, but those are the wastewater and the water is something that we've been looking into. So
some of this money, or half of it, or maybe all of it, may come from federal COVID money.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, that's what the ARPA fund is. That's
right.
That COVID money that the federal government passed down to the state of South Dakota. Some of the money has been distributed. I think we got like 1.3 billion, but some has been distributed out to the counties and municipalities already at this point in time. They just, by population, according to the formula, by population, they got some of that money already, and they've got guidelines that they have to use it for as well. But I think, like you said, the workforce housing is a statewide issue, and it doesn't really matter where you live. It's just, we got to find homes for these people to live in, because our state, the governor a long time ago, she said we're open for business. And when she made that proclamation and she stuck with it, that's really brought a lot of people and focus to South Dakota.
Right.
And we live in a great area here. We got great areas all the way around the state. And people that travel to our state see what's going on. They research our state. I've run into many people that have researched South Dakota, researched Sioux Falls, researched Rapid City, researched Spearfish, Aberdeen, Yankton, and that's where we want to live. That's where we want to come to. And so we got to come together as a group here, as a team, and get this workforce housing problem straightened out. And I'll tell you what, it's been real interesting. I've learned an awful lot from the passion of people like Jeff and Alex and others throughout the state on how they feel about their community and the state of South Dakota. So.
Right, and let's get Director Eckhoff in here, because he's got a lot he's got to deal with. If you have these big plans, now he's got to figure out how to make this work, especially if you're going to move houses and they're not the same code, and that brings more challenges locally here in Sioux Falls on how do we get this done, because it's a great idea. It's just launching it.
Right. I mean, Senator Kolbeck did a great job of illustrating how complicated this is and the many moving pieces that go into housing. And so, as many will remember, when Mayor Tenhaken took office, housing was one of his one of Sioux Falls initiatives. And then COVID came, and we remained open, and then it's like housing took off on a rocket sled. And so we've spent the last several months, starting with the work that Councilors Erickson and Jensen did, along with Logan, listening sessions, the hearings out at Pier and across the state that they have conducted, really gathering good information about what is it that can help us move the needle. Taking the funds we have, looking at things we're doing that we can do differently, looking at new ways of looking at things, to try to put together a comprehensive strategy. And so it's multifaceted. Thanks to the work of the administration and the council, we're going to have about $6.5 million of new money next year in a housing fund and different pots of money we can use to help incent housing. We're looking for assistance from the legislature, some changes in rules on discretionary formatives, those type of things. But it's multifaceted. So, as you know, we recently did a housing study, and it showed us some interesting things. It showed us that, first of all, family sizes in Sioux Falls are actually getting smaller, not bigger. the number of folks, and this is good news for Sioux Falls, the number of folks with higher income, that demographic is moving upward, which is a good thing. The thing that isn't happening, as you all know from your work, is there's still a bunch of people in the middle and lower that are not shrinking. That's still a significant part of our population. So we've got people that are housing burdened or over that 30% of their income, and so we're working to try to fill those gaps as well. So lots of things to work on.
How quickly can all of this come together and there is a decision and we can start moving forward? Optimistically.
You're looking at me.
All of you. I'm looking at all three of you.
January, February, and March, right, Senator?
Right. Well, our workforce housing group, we have conducted 4 meetings, plus we visited with a number of people throughout the state, and we've made our recommendations to the governor. Governor will give her State of the Budget address on December the 7th. So on December the 7th, or many days prior to that, we'll have some kind of an idea as to where we're at with the dollar amount. Okay, then what that is, we'll draft bills. We've got some bills drafted are ready to change, like Jeff said, the discretionary formula, TIFs and that. We've got drafts drawn for that through our LRC office, Legislative Research Council, that does our drafting of our bills. They're not finalized, they're not ready to be published and signed yet, because we got work to do on them. But we do have some of those in there. We'll take those up in January, and hopefully as quickly as we can, we can put emergency clauses on bills, and if we pass the emergency clause, those bills go into effect as soon as the governor signs it. So, we're looking at hopefully, and I'd say that, with some positiveness, that maybe by, the end of April, May, when construction gets started, maybe we can have some things in place. But again, it's looking pretty optimistic on my part, but that's kind of a time frame on our end.
Do you see this as being bipartisan effort, or is everybody going to be okay with Sioux Falls getting a big chunk of this money to do the workforce development?
It's going to be bipartisan, but I'll just tell you this. Right now, the way the formula is written is 30% would go to Pennington County, Minnehaha, 70% would go to the counties and cities in between all of that.
Sure. Now,
whether some people think that's a fair amount or not, but that's what we have in statute right now to work with. I personally, myself, and I'll just throw this out, I think that the populations are bigger on the eastern and the western part of the state. That formula should change a little bit, but I'm not saying that it will. But you're right, it will be bipartisan. There's no doubt about that. Sometimes the struggle would be more between the eastern and western part of the state and the people in the middle. But that's how that kind of works. Yep.
From the city's point of view, Madeline, I would say we're in the process now of putting our policies around. We have the funding from the council, we're getting the policies in place, plus that'll prepare us for any money that's coming from the state. So from a direct standpoint, we're looking at possibly, it looks like it'll be infrastructure assistance for single-family home developments. How does that look? Those are some of the details we're putting together. There'll be some direct assistance, whether it's low-interest loans, zero-interest loans for multifamily, and then funds to acquire land, places where we can move these homes that are being taken out of other developments, recycle them and locate them to make affordable housing out of it. So those are the 3 strategic things we're doing. And then indirectly, we're looking at design standards for public utilities. We're looking at building codes and making sure that we're not doing things that are unnecessary, that make things cost prohibitive.
Okay, well, that is a huge amount of information to think about, and I know we are running out of time, so we will have more on this, you think, in January, February. We'll look for an update then.
Well, thank you very much for having us, and thanks for being on the program.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. That's our time for Inside Town Hall. For all information regarding the City of Sioux Falls, go to siouxfalls.org. See you next month.